Hello. Today we're talking about one of my favorite topics, time management. There are so many different techniques that can be used to use effective time management that you can't possibly use them all. Not only that, not all of them would work for everybody. So, what would work? And what are some of the common different types of techniques that you could use? Today we're going to cover one of my fan favorites, and that is the Pomodoro Technique. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of how this got created, who it will actually work for, some execution tips on how you can use the Pomodoro technique and method, and then some advantages and disadvantages. So stick around and let's see if we can get your time under control. Welcome back. We are talking about the Pomodoro technique today and how this can be useful for you. So the history of Pomodoro, this particular time management technique was created back in the 1980s by a gentleman named Francesco. Francesco at the time was going to college, and as most college students, he was a little overwhelmed with all of his coursework, and he needed to figure out how he could use time to his benefit for studying and getting all the things done that he needed to do to be successful in college. So what he did is he created the Pomodoro technique, in which he started out by just doing 10 minutes of study time at a time. So this actually evolved and eventually became what is known as the Pomodoro technique today. So we'll talk about how to use that in just a little bit. But who does this method work for? It works for those who often find themselves working past their optimal productivity. So that time when your brain starts to get foggy and you just aren't sure what you're doing anymore, this technique works great for people who often find themselves in that situation. It also works really well for those who find themselves being distracted by things. So maybe it's the kids at home, maybe it's, people calling them up because they're stay-at-home workers. It could be any number of distractions that just get in the way of you getting progress done. So if you find that you are distracted often, this might be a technique that would work great for you. And then this also works really, really well for anybody who has open-ended work. So if they have to do studying, or research, learning a specific topic, where you could go literally on and on forever and never actually end your time. You have to be able to put in some healthy boundaries, and this particular time management technique is great for doing that. So what do you need in order to use this technique? It's really easy. All you need are 3 things: paper, something to write with. I prefer a pen, pencils, crayons, colored pencils, any of that would work, and a timer. So how it works. There are 6 steps to successfully implementing the Pomodoro technique. You need to decide on a task that you want to complete. So this is great if you have a big to-do list and you have lots of different things. So just pick a task off of that list. You set a timer for 25 minutes and you get to work. So those are the first 3 steps of the Pomodoro technique. After 25 minutes is up and that timer goes off, you're going to stop working on the task that you had decided to do. You add a check mark to your piece of paper that you're tracking your Pomodoro technique on. And then if you have less than 4 check marks on your piece of paper, you're going to take a short break to kind of rejuvenate your brain just a little bit. They often recommend at least 5 minutes. You could go a little bit longer if you wanted to, or if time allows, or even 3 minutes if it's just a quick run around the house. Maybe you want to take a quick walk, something like that. So then what you're going to do to be successful with the Pomodoro technique is you're going to start over again. Once you get to a situation where you have more than 4 check marks, you're going to take a long break. So that could be maybe time for lunch, maybe time to grab a snack. You're going to get a long break in, and then if you have an entire 8 hours to actually do this Pomodoro technique, that would be about a 9-hour work week, depending on how much, a work day, depending on how much of a break you actually take in between tasks. So those are the 6 simple steps of how to use the Pomodoro technique. So, in order to figure out why this is so advantageous to many people who try to use it, we need to really understand why we avoid tasks. So, as humans, our brains are wired to avoid negative feelings. And oftentimes we end up feeling like we don't have self control, or we feel as if we're being lazy, and that's not really true. It's just that your brain is trying to avoid the negative connotation that comes with you not having the control you want, or you not getting things done that you think need to be accomplished. So it's not a positive reaction to be working on large tasks, especially if you can't accomplish them all in one day. It's why you really need to break down those large projects into small to-do items. So, creating the super tiny tasks that you can accomplish within the 25-minute time frame is what will really help you be successful. You'll start to feel that accomplishment. We really need to start breaking the cycle. So you want to use this technique that breaks the cycle by taking those big tasks and then forces you to complete them in small steps. Those small steps will gain momentum because you will have that positive reinforcement that you get things done. And it's going to allow you to stay hyper focused on the current task versus worrying about all the other things that you need to get done. That is not productive. You want to make sure that you can keep distractions at bay. So oftentimes we think of distractions and that we have no control over them. But the reality is that most distractions that we have in our lives are self-inflicted. There are small things like checking social media and just scrolling and scrolling, or saying, oh, I'll just respond to this email here really quick. But that little really quick situation adds up to lots and lots of lost time across your day. So schedule time for those. Take one of your 25-minute Pomodoro blocks and use it to catch up on social media and your email. Don't just try to fit those in between other things. You need to really schedule them. Use the Pomodoro technique to avoid temptation. So don't go off and do the things that you want to do. You need to make sure that you're focusing on the tasks that need to get done. All right, so I threw this little quote in here and it says, "It is not enough to be busy. The question is, what are we busy about?" And this is so true because we do get distracted so easily. Do not let yourself be busy. Make sure you're being productive. So, what are some disadvantages to the Pomodoro method? Because every time management technique out there has a disadvantage. What are some of the things that we just need to be aware of to watch out for? So here are 3 that I found. Underestimating the time it actually takes to accomplish something. This is so hard. We say, oh, I should be able to get this done really, really quick. And then 25 minutes goes by and you feel like you've not even really started to accomplish that task. So you need to be really aware of the amount of time it's going to take to accomplish that task, or build yourself some leeway. So maybe don't schedule one of your blocks with a to-do item so that you can go back and visit something you didn't have time to get done. The second disadvantage is jumping around and not actually doing things in order. So if I'm writing a blog post and I say, okay, for the next 25 minutes, I'm just going to focus on graphics, but I haven't actually figured out what the titles to my blog posts are, then I might not actually be using my time to the best of my ability. So making sure that you plan them out so that they go in some sort of logical order to make sense. And then last but not least is still not having enough Pomodoro time blocks to get everything done. I mean, our time is precious, and sometimes we just don't have enough time in the day to get everything done that we need to. So making sure that you know what your priorities are and what things are urgent and on a time scale is going to really help you take the best advantage of the Pomodoro technique. I hope that you really enjoyed this, and here is my contact information. If you have any questions about this or any other time management techniques that may work for you, I would love to hear from you. So come check out the website, hit me up on Facebook, or shoot me a quick email, and let's talk about how time management can help you succeed in your business.